Why haven't we cured cancer yet? Why is Alzheimer's still a mystery? Why are we not genetically enhancing ourselves or exploring other planets? We live in an age of quantum computers, artificial intelligence, and gene editing, but science still feels slow. Today, we're going to explore why. And the answer isn't just funding, red tape, or complexity. It's also ethics, fear, and our own human hesitation. We often think of science as a series of breakthrough moments: the light bulb, the moon landing, the double helix. But in reality, science progresses in tiny steps. Most research builds upon older research. A single discovery might require decades of groundwork. Even when something new is discovered, like CRISPR gene editing, it takes years to move from lab to real-world use because of clinical trials, safety concerns, and ethical debates. Science isn't slow because it's inefficient. It's slow because it's cautious, and that caution is baked into its very foundation. One major bottleneck is bureaucracy. Scientific research often requires funding from governments or institutions, which means submitting proposals, passing ethics committees, and aligning with pre-approved agendas. Researchers spend more time applying for grants than doing the actual research. This leads to safe science, projects that are more likely to get approved, but less likely to change the world. And if you want to try something truly radical, expect to face not just scientific skepticism, but administrative resistance and legal scrutiny. Here's where it gets even more complicated. Many of the most powerful, revolutionary scientific ideas come with massive ethical baggage: cloning, genetic enhancement, human-animal hybrids, AI that could replace human jobs or outthink us entirely. We can do these things in theory, but should we? Ethics boards, government restrictions, and international treaties are often in place to prevent misuse, but they also slow innovation and suppress experimentation. For example, editing human embryos with CRISPR was achieved in 2018, but international backlash froze the field almost overnight. Even something as promising as life extension research struggles to gain traction because of the ethical and philosophical questions it raises. Do we really want to live 150 years? What would that do to society or the planet? These questions aren't just theoretical. They actively stall scientific progress. Science doesn't just face external barriers, it faces emotional ones too. Fear of unintended consequences, fear of unleashing something we can't control, fear of playing God. Public opinion can crush scientific fields before they even begin. Think about genetically modified foods. Studies show they're safe, yet public fear has led to bans and misinformation that still persist decades later. This emotional response often leads to overregulation, delayed trials, and a culture where radical innovation is avoided rather than encouraged. The result? A world where possibility is stifled not by technology, but by fear of the unknown. Of course, there's a good reason to be cautious. As science progresses, it becomes more complicated. In the past, a single physicist could change the world. Today, even simple discoveries in biology might involve hundreds of variables and require global collaboration, AI modeling, and long-term observation. We can't afford mistakes, especially in fields like neuroscience, synthetic biology, or climate science. And so we double-check, we triple-check, we wait for consensus, but that means years, even decades between discovery and deployment. Another slowdown. Fragmentation. Science is more siloed than ever. One lab studies one protein in one cell under one condition. Another lab studies the same protein, but in a different context. Experts speak their own technical dialects, rarely crossing into other fields. This slows cross-disciplinary innovation, like using AI in genomics, or applying physics models to social science. Ironically, some of the most powerful ideas lie in the spaces between disciplines, spaces most scientists are too specialized to navigate or even notice. Let's talk money. Who funds science? Governments, corporations, institutions, and they usually want a return on investment. That's why we see more research into diabetes drugs than cures, more funding for military AI than open source AI for education, more interest in monetizable tech than in climate repair or pandemic prevention. There's a market bias toward the profitable, not the beneficial, and if a discovery threatens a billion-dollar industry, like curing a disease rather than managing it, progress can be quietly buried or redirected. Ethics doesn't only live in labs, it lives in our culture. Religious beliefs, social taboos, and moral norms shape what's acceptable to study or even imagine. Would you volunteer for a human brain chip trial? Should scientists grow synthetic embryos for research? Can AI have consciousness or rights? As long as these questions remain unresolved, progress will remain slowed, not by science itself, but by our discomfort with what science implies. We often frame these debates as moral imperatives, but sometimes they're just fear dressed up in philosophy. And that fear has a powerful veto over what humanity dares to discover. Now let's be clear. Ethical review is essential. It protects people, animals, ecosystems, and future generations. But here's the irony. Ethics slows science, but bad ethics can destroy it. In the 20th century, unethical experiments damaged public trust for decades. So today, we're cautious, maybe overly so. We hesitate to explore the limits of consciousness, biotechnology, or gene drives, not because we lack the tools, but because we fear the consequences. And that fear keeps innovation in the lab instead of in the world. So, why does science advance so slowly? Because it's complicated. Because it's expensive. Because it's entangled in politics, culture, and emotion. But above all, because it's human. We are the ones setting the pace, creating the rules, deciding what is too far or too fast. Science is not just a tool, it's a mirror, and right now, it reflects our fears as much as our dreams. But progress is happening. The question is, can we speed it up without losing our humanity in the process? Thanks for watching. If this video made you think, hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment. What do you think is the biggest obstacle to faster scientific progress? And remember, the future doesn't just happen. We build it, one discovery at a time.